My name is Jamal Collins. I work in higher ed as a financial aid expert. I went vegan in 2017. Initially, it was for health reasons. I suffered from some chronic illnesses, borderline pre-diabetic. I had high cholesterol and high blood pressure. And this was the way for me to actually correct those things without going on medication. And then as I dove further into the lifestyle, I learned that it also aligned with my own beliefs and values around being compassionate. And so that really is kind of what made it stick for me, and that is basically my why. Now my goal is to really kind of show people that you can thrive as a vegan in athletics or anything that you want to do. I've been working to build a physique just using plants because that's all the protein you need. So about 6 months after I transitioned to a vegan diet, I went back and saw my doctor. I was no longer pre-diabetic. She was actually quite surprised. She asked me what I was doing, and I told her that I cut out all animal products from my diet. And she's like, well, you can eat animal products. And I was like, yeah, but this aligns more with the things that I want to do and my goals and my values, and it's working. So it was a great experience. I used myself as an experiment, and it worked very well for me.
Now, how did you know that might work?
When I was diagnosed with being borderline pre-diabetic, I researched different things about health and how you could fix it with nutrition. And I came across some documentaries. So Forks Over Knives was probably the first thing that I saw. And beyond that, began just reading, Googling things, which the internet isn't always the best place to find your resources, but I tried to focus on pretty reputable sources in order to make the determination. And I wasn't sure it was going to work at first, but I noticed that I felt a lot better once I did go vegan. I gave myself a month. I was like, try being vegan for a month. And within that month, I felt better than I ever felt before in my life. And I was like, I just love the way this feels, so I'm going to keep going with it.
What were you eating before when you were basically suffering with cardiometabolic disease? What kind of foods were you eating that you cut out?
So before going vegan, I kind of had a transition. I didn't go directly into being vegan. I couldn't do it cold turkey. But before that, I was also in the restaurant industry, and I was part owner of a Italian restaurant, and I had a lot of pasta, a lot of meat-based sauces, steak. Any animal that we eat here in the United States, I was eating. I was going out to a lot of restaurants for research and development for my own business. Yeah, so those were a lot of the things that I was eating. And then I went vegetarian for a little bit after watching Forks Over Knives, realized that, and I knew this before, that dairy was not something that my body really processed well. I was definitely lactose intolerant. And I didn't know I was lactose intolerant, but I just kept drinking milk and eating ice cream and things of that nature for so long that I didn't know what it would feel like without it, and I was curious about that. The day I decided to go vegan, I had a brunch with a friend, and it was vegetarian, but there was a lot of butter, and I felt so bloated after, and I was like, I want to know what it feels like to not have this feeling. And I'm gonna give myself a month without dairy, without eggs, without cheese, which is like my favorite thing. And I felt so amazing that I was just like, yeah, there's no turning back at this point.
You think it's important for others to go vegan, and why?
I do. I do think it's important for others to go vegan or to consider it. I mean, for me, what's important is like trying to align everything in my life around being compassionate, being loving. To me, this just fits into there. So my goal at this point isn't necessarily veganism, even though I'm vegan, because that aligns with what I'm doing. But it's just about being more compassionate. I think the world needs more compassion.
Could you be with somebody who is not vegan?
Can I be with someone that's not vegan? I've dated folks that weren't vegan. I think for me, it's looking for those qualities of compassion within them, because that's the first step. Their openness and their ability to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. I believe that forcing it on people is not necessarily the best way to do it. I know before I went vegan, I wasn't open to it. So if someone came and told me, oh, you have to go vegan in order for me to date you, or gave me an ultimatum, it wouldn't have happened. So I believe, giving people information. I like to plant seeds, explain to people why I'm doing it, in not a judgmental way, because for 38 years of my life, I ate meat. I understand, it's conditioning, it's what we're used to, it's how we socialize in this culture. So making that change is not an easy one for most people. But really understanding your why is where, and understanding that those people have, that capacity for compassion and things like that is more what I look for in someone.
What's a typical day of eating like for you?
So typically for me, because I have very specific goals around my physique, my day of eating will consist of 6 meals. I start very early in the morning. My first meal is usually at 6 a.m. I'll have a muffin, a protein muffin that I make with plant-based protein, and I'll have a protein shake. And that gets me ready to go to the gym and knock out a great workout. After that, I will have some sort of plant-based protein along with a complex carb as well. And I typically have the same thing pretty much every day. So daring chicken is something that I use pretty regularly for my protein. I just found this product, it's a fava bean tofu that's been kind of a game changer as far as the macros and fitting into my goals. And then I make my own seitan as well. So I use a lot of that also. And I mix in different vegetables and beans and legumes and rice, and I love actually white sweet potatoes. That is like my favorite thing. I have some today.
Japanese ones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
they're so good. I mash them. I have a bunch of them now, so that's my complex carbs. I don't eat a lot of rice actually, so my complex carb source is usually sweet potatoes.
Anything else about food you want to throw in there? Sounds like you're pretty well versed with food.
So for anyone who's trying to build a physique, the gym is great. It's important. Nutrition, it has to be just as important for you, for health and for making whatever changes you want to make as far as your physique goes, and then rest as well. Rest actually. After this interview, I'm going to go back to my room and take a nap. But yeah, food is so important for health. I've talked to a lot of people who are just like, well, why didn't you just take the medication to fix your ailment? And I don't think medication necessarily fixes things. It masks it so that you can keep doing or keep your bad habits when it comes to food. But actually changing your food sources and changing your relationship with food, I think, is so important, because that, to me, is what creates longevity as far as health.
Yeah. People say 95% of diets fail.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard all kinds of different numbers. It's pretty high.
Yeah.
But vegan's not a diet, is it?
No. Veganism is not a diet. It's a lifestyle. People think, oh, it's vegan, it's healthy. That's not necessarily true. But being vegan is a lifestyle. So for me, it's not just about my food. It's about the clothes that I wear. It's about the furniture that I buy. I remember when I bought my condo, I went to a furniture store and they kept trying to sell me this leather chair. I liked the design of the chair. I didn't like what it was made out of. And I had to tell them, I was like, look, I'm vegan and a leather chair is not something that will fit in my house, and it doesn't align with what I believe. So if you don't have it in a cotton cloth, I don't want it.
So it doesn't sound like you cheat too often.
No, I am not a cheater.
And so it sounds like it's predominantly ethical for you now.
It is. It is definitely an ethical thing for me. And it's kind of liberated me and changed my life, the trajectory of my life, basically. Before going vegan, this whole idea of being a bodybuilder never came to mind. It's brought me a level of peace that I didn't have before.
And why are we here today?
So we're here today with the Vegan Strong team. We're about to crush it at the Mr. America competition tomorrow, this weekend. I'm so looking forward to being able to represent veganism and show people that, you know, you can build a great physique, you could be a power lifter or a strong man or do CrossFit or kettlebells. You can do anything you want to, even as a vegan.
And do you have like a YouTube or a social media channel or anything like that you want to?
So I do. I'm pretty active on Instagram. My Instagram name is Skinny Boy Vegan Gains.
Wow, that's a long one.
Yes, it's long, but memorable.
Skinny Boy Vegan Gains.
Yes, and it came about actually because the first time I actually competed, I was vegan at that point. I was about a year into my vegan journey. And I was pretty skinny. And so a coworker of mine kept telling me how skinny I looked and that I wasn't a bodybuilder. And I was like, I'll show you. We can do this. And now I'm a pro physique athlete. I'm a pro masters bodybuilder in the World Natural Bodybuilding Federation.
Nice.
And I'm just starting. So I still got a ways to go.
Now, how long you been doing this again?
About 5 years. Yeah, I've been training specifically for bodybuilding for the last 5 years.
Cool. And you want to flex for us before you go?
Sure.
Good job, man.
Thanks.